Good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen here in the room and those on the video, we welcome all of you to the
Good morning.
North Carolina Driver Education Advisory Committee. Good morning.
Good morning.
Appreciate all of you being here, and we'll get ready to start our meeting, our quarterly meeting. This is February the 21st, 2023. And here we keep going, moving forward fast. This is the meeting of the North Carolina Driver Education, and this committee advises and recommends to the State Board of Education on how to implement the driver education strategic plan and other issues related to driver safety and education. I'm Dr. Cheryl Leonard, Chairman of the North Carolina Driver Education Advisory Committee, and I'm calling this meeting to order and welcome committee members, advisors, staff, on-site visitors, and online visitors to this meeting. If any time during this meeting you have any comments, please speak into the microphone so that it may be recorded, and we are being recorded, thanks to Cindy. If you're in the audience and have questions, please wait to be recognized, and then we'll, before speaking, and then we'll move forward. Cindy has provided everybody with the agenda and materials, and they're available online through the DPI website on the driver education section. So the meeting is also being streamed through a link located at the bottom of the Driver Education Advisory Committee page. Please be advised the meeting, again, is being recorded. I'll now read the ethics statements as required of us. Committee members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this committee. Does any member of the committee know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussions on the matter and from voting on the matter. What I'd like to do before we begin the roll call, I'd like to recognize Dr. Lynn Harvey, and if she'd like to say a few words before we move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Leonard. I appreciate the opportunity to join you today, and I would like to, again, I'm going to stand if you don't mind so I can see you. Would like to, on behalf of the State Board of Education and the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Catherine Truitt, to welcome you to the department. We're glad that you're here, either physically or virtually. Thank you for your presence, and more importantly, thank you for your leadership and vision as you work collectively to make this program the best in the country. I'm convinced that's where we are and where we're going to continue to be, and it's your leadership that helps guide that. As I was talking with Dr. Leonard a moment ago, this is such a great opportunity for state agencies, local agencies, state governments as well, to collaborate on what is, we believe, a mutually beneficial outcome, so that all represented at the table can take information back to their respective units to show the kind of progress that we can make when we all work together, moving in the same direction to achieve the same goals. And on behalf of those students who benefit from your work, whose lives are made better, whose lives are perhaps saved, whose lives are impacted in so many ways, thank you for what you do. We only need to see what's happening in the media regularly to recognize that it's so critical, now more than ever, for our young drivers to understand traffic safety, to abide with the rules, to be cautious and courteous drivers, and to be attentive at all times. And your role in helping this to come to fruition is so critical. We often hear reports about what happens in the academic environment. I think it's important that you recognize clearly you are very much a part of that academic environment. The skills you and your colleagues transmit to students do more than just prepare them to complete a class and excel in class. These are life skills that go with them forever and ever. And so you do have that indelible impression. So on their behalf, again, thank you for the leadership and the vision that you bring to this work. I look forward to seeing you as you are here today, connecting with you virtually. Thank you for your questions that you may raise. I'm always very appreciative for Carl's leadership of this team and his passion for traffic safety for students who are impacted by those. He's happy to entertain those and to take those further to our agency leadership and the state board as well. So again, thank you for all that you do, how you do it, and decades to come. Right? Dr. Leonard?
Thank you so much for those words. I don't think that sometimes we don't always realize the impact that we make and the purpose that each one of us has, not only to be on this team, but to be on their respective agencies, and how we have all come together to be partners and, as you use your term, collaborate in making a difference and in making an impact on the things that are brought before this committee. And we will continue to strive to do all that we can to continue to be the best. I was just telling Dr. Harvey, I just got back from Phoenix, Arizona, from American Traffic Safety Association meeting, and they had individuals from all over, not only U.S., but outside the country, and how they came together for one common goal, not only to reduce crashes and injuries, but to focus on the new technologies and things that have been even in the past, and how we could upgrade some of those. Because I know many times people say, well, we used to do that and we can't do that anymore, but you have to have a foundation to do things. And sometimes when we have history that we know has worked well, and we take that and then add other components to that, and there are just so many. And I know that when I work in committees like this, and I know when I go to outside committees, there are just so many intelligent individuals that have so many creative ideas. And when you throw those out, and eventually it all pulls together and comes up with plans like we have that we'll be presenting, it's just, it makes you want to strive and want to continue to work in projects like this. And of course, we always think North Carolina is the greatest state in the United States and abroad. And I will say that I probably said it enough, almost to nauseam, to many of the folks. They definitely knew where North Carolina was. So that in itself. So thank you again for being here.
My pleasure. And it's your leadership that contributes to that national recognition. So thanks to all of you again for your contributions.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to the roll call. Cindy, if you'll announce the roll call and approval of the agenda and the meeting minutes.
Committee members, if you accept the agenda and the minutes, if you will say yes whenever I call your name. Dr. Cheryl Leonard?
Yes.
Eddie Jordan?
Yes.
Craig Uzel?
Yes.
Dr. Darren Jones? Kevin Harrison?
Yes.
Carol Ann Hutchins?
Yes.
Representing School Bus and Traffic Safety, Paul DeLuey?
Fred Garner for the Paul.
Daniel Carter?
Yes.
Representing DMV Driver License, Tanya Faulkner?
Yes.
Devin Tanner? Hygon Kapikian?
Yes.
Christy Daltrey? Captain Gary Brown?
Yes.
Chad Aharon?
Yes.
Asim McGill?
Yes.
Natalie O'Brien?
Yes.
Kella Hatcher?
Yes.
Dr. Kashi Bazemore? And Owen Dara.
Yeah. Yes.
Dr. Leonard, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so the next item for up is the North Carolina DPI update and discussion, and I will call on Carl Logan to present this update.
Thank you, Dr. Leonard. Greetings to you all. On behalf of the DPI Traffic Safety Team, a sincere thank you greatly for your continued support for the state's Novice Teen Traffic Safety Education Program. We will provide you with an update in the following areas, and with the permission of the chair, we will invite questions during or at the end of the update. first is the fuel reserve funding policy that was approved at the beginning of the month by the State Board of Education. The General Assembly provided $2.8 million for a fuel reserve to offset the spike in the fuel costs for the school year, or this current school year. The districts were invited to participate in a survey to provide the information regarding their fuel needs in December. Only about 77% of those districts participated in the survey. We are inquiring as to if that would eliminate the others from participating in that. And at this moment, I don't know that exactly, but I will be communicating with the district leaders in mid-month or mid-March. So on the screen, you'll see the approved state board policy, which also reflected it also reflects it in 22-23, the allotment policy manual. So those of you who are local, I know you're driving schools and you can work with your districts. You did not get a copy of this, the contracted schools. But you can work with your chief financial officers on this policy that's in effect now. The next slide there is, these are focuses for this coming year. I would say that there's so many things that the department has been working on with the program, and that we've kind of gone off and left our local leaders or local leadership in kind of in the dark. So that's something that we want to focus on this year. We are looking at providing a regular update for the coordinators and a way to communicate with teachers as well. There is a digitized procedures manual that will be available soon, which will allow our district leaders first-hand information regarding that. Cindy, are we ready to put that up now, or is it? No. I'm not now. But do we have it ready to launch?
Yes.
Okay. Most likely in our meeting in mid-March, we will announce that to our district leaders on where to find that. So we're very excited about that, aren't we? Hopefully it will help to be the first place that the district coordinators will go to and not have to wait on a return phone call or an email from our office. Also, quarterly webinars. We are planning these to happen on a regular basis the month following this meeting, which will provide an update of what has been discussed in the advisory committee. New policies or items that are impacting the program, such as teacher ed or teacher renewals, has been a hot topic among the districts. Also, something that came up during the rules meetings with the attorneys is that the driver education is measured. I'm trying to think of Mr. Zyko. Driver education is measured based on the performance measures of the expenditures and the participation and how many students pass the driver license test for the learner's permit. We have had significant conversations with DMV regarding this. Moving forward, we would like to somewhat rebrand our program as being a traffic safety education program, which would align with what's the correct term for that? I've seen safe
Safe
systems approach. I'm sorry. Safe systems approach, which is a national, actually it's a world initiative, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And the United States is somewhat
forefront.
Okay. That's good to hear. And then, so we're looking to rebrand ourselves because everyone is a road user, and we're not here just to teach kids how to get their learner's permits. And so I was a little bit taken aback when I heard that, but that's honestly, in the room here, we have a new general counsel, Mr. Ryan Collins. If you'd like to say anything regarding that, but I know you're brand new, but yes, I think we had a little bit of a conversation on this yesterday, but we're looking to visit that particular idea of the program. Also, budget will be a focus for us in gathering the expenditure data and the other data that we can collect from the districts will help us to give a better insight on the local programs, and so that we can become a better support and a resource for the local programs. Do we have any questions so far? Hearing none. The student curriculum, unfortunately, we are still still seeking a funding source for the learning management system. We have 5 districts who are actually involved in the pilot that are still using the program, and so we're excited about that. These districts who piloted the program, it was kind of like giving a child something. You can't take it back from them now, so they're continuing to use it, and we've had some great responses from the teachers and the local leadership in that area. And lastly, unfortunately, there has been an increase, at least in the news, of interactions with the police. Our efforts are to provide a platform to provide accurate information and guidance to our teams. And in 2017, this legislation required DPI to offer the safe police stops training as part of the driver education curriculum. We have provided our district leaders with lesson plans in 2018 in January. We have exciting news. I'm sure that the local leadership will be glad to hear this. In addition to the Highway Patrol, who has traffic safety education officers or patrolmen out there who are assisting in our driver ed classes, is a partnership with the Center of Safer Schools, which we feel like will make the lesson plan more impactful to all students, because all districts, all schools have an SRO, or a safety resource officer. So this training will encourage the SROs at the local schools to assist in the lesson plan. And this training will, I met with Director Karen Fairley, and I asked her to pop up here, but she probably got tied up. I don't know, Karen, are you online? Maybe not. I asked her to introduce me to Mr. Quentin Trent, who will begin developing this plan to assist the instructors in the classroom, and maybe even mock traffic stops in the parking lot, which I think will go a long way with helping students or teens to understand the stress level that goes through on a traffic stop. So we've also provided Mr. Trent with the lesson plan, and you all have a copy of it. And we're proud of that, and we will continue to educate our teams so that we will give them the best opportunity to have positive interactions, if it's possible, with the police and the traffic stop. That, Madam Chair, is all I have for the DPI report. Are there any questions, comments?
I did have one question. You've got 5 districts who are involved in the pilot project for the student STEP program. Do you recall what districts those are?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
And I don't mean to put you
I'm going to have to ask Cindy, or no, I can ask Dr. Amelia Royster Davis online. Amelia, will you unmute and give us a little recap on those districts that are using our student curriculum?
And now you're putting me on the spot. I can tell you, I believe it's Johnston, Orange, McDowell, yes, and I cannot recall the other 2. I'm so sorry. I can look that up, and I will put it in the chat for you.
Lee County and Catawba County.
Yes.
Yes, Cindy.
Thank you, Mr. Logan, or Cindy.
It takes a
It takes a team.
it takes a team. Thank you, Cindy.
So if I could just follow up with maybe a couple more questions. So when did the STEP program begin?
The STEP program is actually the teacher ed program,
Okay.
and it's been in existence for what, 3 years? Dr. Davis?
Since 2019.
Okay. Do you know how many teachers that we have certified through this program?
Certified? No, that's probably perhaps a Cindy question. Do you have a rough figure for us, Cindy, by chance?
We're to 200, and there are 30 plus in class right now
That is correct.
in the cohort. Okay,
In the correct cohort, yes.
right. These teachers, once they complete our program, they actually receive a certificate that goes on their teacher's license, which, and this is, I know that we've mentioned this before, but they get a certificate that's added to their teacher's license. It actually can bump them up on a pay grade all the way up to the top scale. Also, this program is another avenue, being that the college university program in North Carolina went away. The last one was at East Carolina that went away in 2015, I think.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Any other questions for Carl?
I'll just say real quickly, Chad Aharon here. I can actually interject for 2 seconds because I have actually experience with both of them because my daughter just completed the Orange County Driver's Ed program under Buddy Hartley. And it's a very impressive program. I will say a lot of effort went into creating that program and so forth. So I'm trying not to be biased, obviously, being here, but she did go through it and enjoyed it. And here in Alamance County, we've had at least 4, if not 5, people go through the STEP program to be certified. And the amount of learning and you know, just it's a good program. I really will say. No one complains about it being, you know, a couple of weeks long. It's definitely, you know, paced at a good pace where people don't feel overwhelmed. So I would love to recommend it to other counties who are in need for driver's ed teachers.
Additionally, a little bit of a backstory on this is that we were developing this learning management system to be able to expand the program out to a 45-hour curriculum. We are using the ADCIA 3.0 curriculum that we received the rights to do and modify it to North Carolina. So this is a North Carolina-based curriculum. It is based on a national curriculum. In the room here, we have Mr. Connie Sessoms, who has worked with ADCIA and ANSTI, where we actually got into ANSTI, where we got the teacher certification program. ADCIA is where we've gotten the curriculum for the students. The idea behind developing this learning management system or digitized program will actually allow us to be able to make updates to it. It will reduce the cost of commitment by the local districts, being that they don't have to buy or update the material. We do this here at DPI using our budget. So all the then we would provide professional development for the teachers and then move this right along and not have to wait for new textbooks to be printed, things like that. So it eliminates the cost of textbooks as well. The thing that we didn't anticipate so soon was COVID. COVID actually put us in a position where teachers that, or when we were able to teach remotely or virtually, these teachers were able to use that same program and basically do it virtually from home. And all the kids would have access to it. And so actually the districts who had this program or were able to use it actually were ahead of the game on getting their district getting restarted. So some good things came out of COVID.
Is it through Canvas or what is it through?
It is the learning management system is Canvas. Yes. The unfortunate problem that we have is that DPI has a statutory cap on how much we can keep for administration. And can't pay for it. We can't pay for access to the students, for the students. That access is $3.74 a student. And we can't collect monies from the district because that is considered administrative once it comes back to us. So we're in a spot. So we're working to seek avenues on how we can get this out to the districts. And we need to keep it on one instance of Canvas or the learning management system because it has a copyright or attached to it. So we're allowed to distribute this to any school and any student that we serve in the state. But it has to stay in that environment.
If it ever goes through, we'll be trained on it, though, I guess. Will they come and train?
Absolutely. We had Amelia, you can expand on this, but we had a rollout plan which was quite extensive. And you can tell about that, Amelia?
Sure. So, yes, you're correct. New instructors in the pilot were participated in a 2-week training over the summer to orient them to Canvas as well as the content. They were given a sandbox to play, so to speak, in Canvas. Many of our participants had already were familiar with Canvas, but delivering driver education might be slightly different in that environment. So they participated in a 2-week training, had a sandbox to be able to play and explore. Our content or the curriculum is currently 13 modules. And one of the concerns that participants had, or the pilot participants had, is, I'm so accustomed to having my guest speakers and, adding this to the content. So it was very important to ensure that they understood how to create pages and add those additional materials that they would traditionally have in that face-to-face environment so that they could continue to have that flexibility to teach in a way that they felt really good about and to deliver that additional content. But the curriculum is the way that it is, and so instructors or participants are expected to cover that content, but of course they can always supplement with their own resources. That face-to-face time that would traditionally happen in the classroom, they're able to do that via the meeting platform of their choosing. Most districts in our pilot use Zoom, but we do have some that use Google Meet or who have played around with using Teams. So we do like that's their flexibility in there as well.
So standardization with flexibility, huh? Have you heard that before?
Yes.
I've been walking around the office and I've been telling everybody we've got to be flexible. We've got to create some standards.
Correct.
Standards first, and then flexibility.
Correct.
Another question that I think that the committee here would like to know about, Amelia, is that we have by the end of the year, by the end of the school year, we will have had close to 230 teachers out there. Would you say that these teachers learning in the STEP program would be more comfortable or ready to teach in a variety of different settings using technology in the classroom or the learning management system?
I would argue yes. We recognize that with COVID, many teachers were exposed to online learning and, perhaps even thrown into situations where they had to teach online. And I feel that, and I've even received feedback that, the participants that have gone through our program, many of them are even veteran teachers, but some of the content and things that are covered in our course enhances and builds upon what they've already know and exposes them to various technologies. Sometimes it can be a challenge, and as many people are intimidated sometimes by technology, but we help build their confidence and allow opportunities for them to use the tools so that if they are in a position where they are teaching virtually, they have that knowledge to be able to be successful teaching driver education in Canvas.
Thank you, Amelia. I just realized something. Amelia was with us a few years ago and left, and now she's back. She's in the process of onboarding as we speak. Amelia, can you tell the committee about your position on our DPI Driver Ed Traffic Safety Team?
Certainly. So the position has been reframed a little, and so it does not only encompass content. So the new position title is Learning Program Manager, and this role works still primarily on the curriculum side, in that our focus, of course, is continued improvements and enhancing the program that we currently have. Each cohort, we actually go in and make revisions. And so, what we have, we know is a great program or a good program, but we strive for greatness. So we continue to use our evaluations and feedback that we get from cohort participants to make improvements to the program. So this role works very closely with our SMEs, or subject matter experts, in ensuring that Canvas provides the most optimum learning experience for participants. So work very closely with them. This role also does involve some, not only LMS administration, but it does involve some instructional design and project management. And this role is kind of shifting more to encompass some policy revisions, as we're working with the team as an entire team to ensure that those policies really reflect what's needed at this time, and as well as this role works with our districts that are currently still using our STEPS program. So there are several moving parts for this position. I think I've encompassed or included everything that this role does, but you can certainly chime in, Mr. Logan.
And you mentioned the three SMEs on there. We have three contractors, retired contractors, who are, I think all of them are 30-year retirees from the
Yes.
teachers. Okay. And they serve as teachers on the teacher ed program.
Correct. So Mr. Flythe, which I'm sure many of you know, Mr. Flythe serves as our lead instructor, and he facilitates the mentor course and also provides guidance to our two new instructors. And the two new SMEs are currently still kind of getting through their first year in the program, so they will serve as the primary instructors for the teacher program, or in the new driver education instructor program, so STEP.
Our ultimate goal would be to have a person who, in every state board of education region throughout the state, who would have their credentials that would be able to assist in providing these type of classrooms or these type of cohorts, working directly with the school systems in those districts or in those regions. So thank you, Dr. Amelia Royster Davis.
You're welcome.
All right. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Okay, so one other question. The Center for Safer Schools and the partnership that we have, you talk about the center becoming more of an endowed partner with the program that's already in existence.
Yes.
Okay, so is it a possibility of maybe having a representative from the center come and speak and give some highlight, or even having one of the SROs coming in and talking about their perspective of how this is working?
Yes, we will be able to do that. If we can put that on our May agenda, Amelia, and we will make that happen.
Yes, got it.
I think with everything going on, and everybody sees the news and they watch the reports, etc., this particular program and partnership, I think, is going to lead the way in the country on how students are being protected, if you will, in the schools, and looking at those partnerships and involving those that are really in depth of protecting our students as well.
A conversation that I had with Officer Trent was that, actually in the schools, many times you ask people when driver education or traffic safety education begins, and they say, well, it's 14 and a half when they're able to take driver education. And that's not true. Actually, when these students, or when the kids come home from the hospital, of course they don't remember it, but they're in a car seat. And then in school, they always walk on the right side of the hallway in a line. There's no running in the hall. All these things are things that we teach in traffic safety education. And I'm sure, Ms. Hatcher, you can appreciate those practices in the schools. But I see that if we are training the SROs at the schools, this program could trickle down into other grade levels, because most of our kids are high school or senior high school. This would allow them to work with these younger students in understanding and respecting law enforcement. That's another thing that was mentioned in the meeting with them. And so there were a lot of advantages or win-win for both of our sections, Center for Safe School and the driver education section on this partnership.
And I'll plead the fifth on not knowing the data, but I can always call on my friend Natalie O'Brien. You probably have some documentation and data that supports the fact that 14-year-olds and even younger are the most impressionable about driver education, behavior, just beginning to learn and being able to instill some of that knowledge before they even get to the piece where they're in driver's education.
Specific data on that.
It's nothing like putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
Huh?
I don't actually have anything that I know research-wise related to that, but I think just learning in general over time that is not compressed in any subject matter that's not compressed is better. So the more that they're exposed to it over the learning education years, the better.
Yeah.
Just trying to concentrate that within a couple week type period or a couple months, depending on how the driver education is instructed.
Yeah, I know the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has presented some information about how middle schools are. It's more important for us to get into the middle schools to talk about driver education and the traffic safety messages that we have, because it does impact them much more. And I'll see if I can't find some of that research to present to this group as well, because I think it's interesting, because we are always looking at, we're focusing on high school and the driver's education. And there's an old adage that if you begin to discipline your child after the age of 10, you have clearly missed that ship, but whatever. And so hearing some parents talk about, we're kinder, gentler, and we're not going to start disciplining our child till they're 10 years old. It's a little bit scary. I say all that because I think there is a trend and there is a move, as you were talking about earlier, how we can go into the middle schools and start working on that, and even lower grades as well.
I know Carl and I talked about just specifically with the risk of passengers with young drivers, and like say with that age group, before you're going to be a young driver, they're often usually a passenger of a young driver. And so thinking of the context of traffic safety education, even if their teens aren't letting licensing anymore, if they're going to be passengers of young drivers, that's an important thing to consider, and how the impact of those when they're together
Exactly.
is risky.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. If no more questions for Mr. Carl Logan, we will now shift for some subcommittee updates, and I'll call on my colleague, Chairman Chad Aaron.
All right, thank you so much. I know I always start off by saying this, but we're in very good hands. Working with Mr. Logan, working with Ms. Taylor, working with Dr. Leonard. We are making progress. There are changes. I know some people wish changes would occur quicker, but it is a process and so forth. So, and like I said before, having a daughter go through some of these programs, having some of my instructors go through these programs, we are really changing this and seeing more and more people come from the north, come down here, take driver's ed down here. Just had a girl from New Jersey, no driver's ed up there, comes down here. Parents are super impressed. I do think we have the best driver's ed program in the country. So I'm going to present some things, some updates and whatnot. Bear with me. It's very stressful going before Mr. Connie Sessoms. Just throwing that out there, so I'm going to try my best. So we had a couple of meetings. We had 3 meetings in December. Our meetings, which is, I think, a good thing, go really, really long because a lot of things are being discussed. Each meeting had around 10 attendees, 90 minutes per se. And I feel like, if we had more time, we'd probably even go longer since changes are being recommended and additions are being recommended. Although we were making significant progress, the recommendation was to alter our plan to respect the time of the attendees. We paused the meeting for committee members. If someone could, besides me, obviously, look at the chat to see if anyone has any comments. DPI staff will provide a draft of this particular rule in a few weeks. Committees will consider those recommendations. And Mr. Logan and I were talking about this yesterday. The wordsmithing will be done by attorneys. But like I said, progress is being made. People are compromising and, being very pro-student, pro-teacher, pro-education. Any comments? Oh, there you go. Okay, so let me get my here. So more contracting updates. The rule is on hold as well until DPI provides a draft with recommendations. Once completed, the DPI will reschedule these meetings as well. Like I said before, I know some people wish that things were done a lot quicker, but when we have so many different parties, at the table, trying to get things right and move forward. Mr. Logan, if I'm missing anything, you're more than welcome to interject as well, or anyone else.
Doing great.
Thank you. I go to the next one. Oh, there we are. Okay. So aside from a few definitions, the DPI staff will submit these for discussion, most likely next week. DPI curriculum and instruction team, which is 4 members, will have had 4 meetings. The draft will be sent to committee members, and DPI will create doodle poll for available times. Next slide, please. All right, and yet again, the coordination with the DMV, I will say it again, we've kind of talked a lot about this, how we here in the classroom, and I guess as well as in the private sector, could work with the DMV to alleviate some things. Paul, if you're interested in sharing anything or weighing into this process or any recommendations, but I know we keep talking about the onus possibly being more down the road on the schools to alleviate some pressure from for the DMV.
Paul's not.
Paul's not here.
Did we have you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't get your name. You're representing Paul.
Yes, Fred Garner. I'm
Fred?
the district supervisor for this area.
Fred Garner. How about that? I've heard about you for years.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm very well.
Nice to have you here. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. Just to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit on what we were talking about is Paul, in a meeting with us some time ago, asked to be a part of this. So once we are in a position to submit these back to the committee here, also you all would have an opportunity to work with us on anything else, because our goal is aligning the administration, the curriculum, everything about the 2 programs, because right now they're 2 distinctly different administrative programs in the state. So nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to be here. Put a face to the evening.
How about that? Do you have any comments that you would like to make as far as
It would take more time than this meeting has, but suffice it to say that this is an issue that we continually address on a daily basis almost, trying to get
right?
kids in the DMV in a timely manner. With schedules being 2 and 3 months out, we do our best to try to alleviate as much of that as we can. But our hands are tied to the amount of people that are actually do have appointments. We recommend to the kid or to the parents that they go ahead and start getting appointments prior to the end of the class, rather than wait till after the class or a month after the class. So parents notoriously don't do that. It's not, I don't know if it's because they don't think about it, or they just procrastinate, or they don't plan ahead. So that's the basic thing that we try to do right now without any guidance from the actual driver services side versus school bus and traffic safety side.
Right. We've been in talks with driver license and, of course, school bus and traffic safety for many years. I feel like, I'm not going to say anything to put up any pressure on us. I feel like that the timing is right now to address the flow, what you're just talking about, the flow from the public schools program or the driver education programs, traffic safety education programs. I'm going to have to look for the rebranding name. Traffic safety education programs as they move to the driver license office. We feel like that we have enough people on both sides that we can eliminate a lot of the confusion that is created by the processes in which, or the hoops that people have to jump through. I'm very excited about that. That's why we're working so diligently with trying to get this digitized curriculum. And I won't say why at this moment, but if we can do that, then we will solve all the world's problems.
You solve a big one, at least in North Carolina.
Yes. So I'm very excited about this. That's why we're not going to stop on this. We're going to continue with this until it happens. Thank you, Mr. Martin, for being here.
But you don't have to sign up. You can still show up to the DMV to get your license anyway, right? Or your permit. You don't have to sign up. Because I know where we are, I have parents sign up 12 times. Because if they're going to flunk it, they're already got the dates already in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And having done this recently,
I'm sorry.
no problem. Sorry. Having done this recently with my own daughter, I know that the appointments are sometimes harder to get at different DMVs than others. I think we ended up in Ashburn for our appointment, but we got an appointment next day. I mean, we scheduled one. If you're willing to drive a little ways, you can take a canceled slot from somewhere else because people are canceling. So it's there's some things there that you can certainly do to mitigate it, which is.
And a lot of people don't know they can go to
They
other
can just
places.
go.
Yeah, they just think they just go to their county and nowhere else. That's we found out.
And some locations are out until May, but other locations you can get the appointment tomorrow.
Right.
But one thing addressing that, parents do that. They'll get a half a dozen appointments.
You don't
And then
win
they
around.
fail to cancel them, which really ticks off the DMV when they don't show up. Now, that needs to be a part of something written down right now.
Well, if you charge them $5, they wouldn't sign up at one time. They would
Exactly.
lose their money, but there's no fee. Yeah, if we do that in driver's ed, everybody signs up, but they don't show up. It's easy to sign up. It's just hard to get there. It's just like with the DMV.
Again, thank you, Ms. Garn, for being here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was just listening to the conversation, and because being on one side and working with DMV on some other issues, that is a big issue right now of people not canceling, and you are absolutely correct. It does offend those with DMV that they could have had other people come in at that time. And I think maybe that might be something that we might want to bring to the table with DMV about that charging piece. The other piece, on every website there's frequently asked questions, and so when parents go to the website, there is a place where information is provided to them. And I could be wrong, but I almost have seen the concept of looking in different areas to be able to get the schedule. And even because I do know some, even in Rocky Mount, will travel to Halifax County to get it. So, as opposed to waiting the 3 months. But I think sometimes people just like to say they had to wait and wait and wait, and when there are ways to get around that. So, I think the partnerships between us and DMV are exactly what you said, are at the point where they're stronger now than ever before. So, coming to them, excuse me, with some suggestions, I think would be advantageous. So we can make a point of that.
One additional item that's left out of this whole scheduling piece are the driver eligibility certificates. Those have a 30-day expiration date on them, and so once the student may have a appointment, now they've got to go back to the school possibly and get that renewed. As I said before, we've discussed this, that the possibility that this can be alleviated. I won't say what the solution is, but there is a place that this can be eliminated. Or unfortunately, when the law was written, it's only for 30 days, but the students' grades don't change for 3 months, and so the 30 days is too short. But at the same time, there should be an opportunity for the districts to go into an electronic system and just make note that the student is still making progress toward graduation. So we've had those discussions, and that could possibly be a solution to this long term. But I guess one thing at a time. But we'll eventually get this thing worked out. And this is the flow process from the schools to the driver license office. I'm sure the license examiner will like that a lot. Yes.
Here's an issue that I think there's a huge difference between, especially with DMV and public schools. We do everything we can to accommodate 504s, IEPs. We have to do that. But when they go to DMV, I call it the real world. You either know it or you don't know it. But in the public schools, we accommodate. We try our best to accommodate every kid. But when you go to DMV, from my understanding, Fred, I may be wrong, pretty much all they'll do is read it to you. Because there are a lot of kids that can't, when they go to DMV, it's not because they weren't taught properly. I can give them the test, they still won't pass.
He's discussing, is it an oral test option at the license office?
I think that's all it is.
That's even worse, because you have to make an appointment for that, because they have to take an examiner off the floor and go into a private room to read the test, which gums up the system even more. So that's an option you want to stay away from, I think.
There are a lot of kids that
Accepting.
do that, that need that, require that, because we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just gets a little, because there's so many different 504s, so many different IEPs, so many different accommodations. 1 in a classroom, 3 in a classroom, separated testing. And that's your specialty too. But I know we're different from the public schools. We're going to do everything we can to help them out.
Sure.
DMV is, to me, the real world. You either know it or you don't know it.
Yeah. And what we would say is that you would apply the same accommodations that they would get in the real world, because that's reasonable access. And ultimately, DMV has to decide if that individual is capable of driving. So we would want to provide the instruction to the student to help them be as competent as possible to pass DMV's test. So we would be doing a disservice to the student if we were offering them more accommodations and modifications than they would be allowed to access through DMV. So one thing I wonder at DMV, I know the stress of having an instructor have to pull someone off the floor and read to them, but I wonder about the technology resources at DMV, if they have accessibility features on the actual computers, if it's a computerized test. Yeah, that can read to them. So that would be something that you would want to look at with how they're taking the test in your setting, if they can have the computer read it to them too. So that might be something. Some kids can do well with that. Some people actually have to have the person, but that would be another thing to look at.
Here's a story we've had. I've had a kid in my class who couldn't pass the side test, and after sign test. And this is the mentality. Hey man, I got an IEP. I don't have to know the signs. You know, and it's like, so if you get in a car accident because you missed the sign, you gonna say to the family, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I killed your parents. I got an IEP. I'm good. So it gets a little bit, but that's the mentality of a lot of kids now. I got an IEP. I got a 5-4A. I got to know it. You know, and I two scenarios in my humble personal opinion. You got us, the public schools. We accommodate. We do everything we can. And then you go to the DMV. You're in the real world. You either know it or you don't know.
Right.
Because I've had kids who couldn't read.
Right.
They spent a lot of time. They passed at the DMV. I've had kids who number one in the class failed it twice, or they didn't try an attempt. So I mean, it's just a. I guess a.
So let me ask you a question. As we evolve from the driver licensing tutorial that most people somewhat think that the driver ed program is, and that we're looking toward the safe systems approach where everybody's going to be a road user, we're educators in the public school system, and we're teaching kids how to be safe passengers or operators of motor vehicles. Should we consider that and scale that back, or should we think about educating the student and then letting them know that at some point you won't have this same opportunity or this assistant as DMV?
I don't think you scale back. I think you prepare the student for those circumstances that they'll be facing. When they go to the DMV, there is a limited amount of reasonable access that they'll be allowed to have. So our responsibility is to provide the instruction for them to be able to function within those circumstances, not scale it back so they can pass the class, because that's doing them a disservice if they can pass the class but can't get a license. So for the instructional opportunity, we have to keep the high standard, because our goal is for them to have a license, right? And to do it safely and not to hurt anybody, themselves included. And so we can't compromise the curriculum because of a disability. You have to have the skills necessary for DMV to give you the license.
Well, a lot of the kids, even that are IEPs 5 and 4, it's not they're bad drivers. They just can't pass the test.
Sure.
You know, they're excellent drivers, but they just.
Sure. And it does come down to some reading disabilities often.
Right.
And that is often tied up with poor ability to make decisions and problem solving, which it comes into some deficiencies with making good judgment calls, which is so necessary with processing when you're a driver. And so it might take more time in the course. Everybody doesn't get through it the first time, and for kids with disabilities, some of that repetitive course time, while not ideal and probably doesn't look good on our data for how many times they have to go through the course, sometimes that's required to get a good understanding of that material. And so, you know, what I would work with the school staff is, you know, how much of what their functional reading needs need to be addressed in school to help them be able to work in your environment to know the content for the test. They shouldn't be separate things. I mean, a driver's manual is functional reading. So that's a tool that you can teach reading in high school with. It doesn't just have to wait for the driver's ed course, in my opinion.
I don't know what Craig is saying. Craig, I've seen experiences with kids who, and I've taught in the regular school day, and I've taught them in driver's ed class. They had an IEP, and they said when they get a driver's ed, I don't need this. And they do great. They do better than the kid who was considered regular ed. And my question is, Mr. Logan and somebody else, the people who are doing the online platforms, how are these kids providing services? How are they getting their services? If it's a kid if it's an online through Canvas and it's not a face-to-face, how are they getting their accommodations?
Remember, these are the teachers have the flexibility of how they're going to administer their classroom. In fact, going back to the safe police stops, there are certain things that we feel that must be taught in a face-to-face environment. There are some things that can be done in a virtual environment synchronously, and there's some things that can be taught asynchronously without a teacher and then discussion boards and things like that. So it would be up to the teacher to determine if they are able to reach the student or not. And that student in a situation where they would be in a face-to-face opportunity. So it's really completely the local district's prerogative to determine how they're going to administer the classroom for those students.
Let me say one more thing, and I promise you I'll be quiet. So,
You're doing great, Craig.
one of the things too, God, I forgot what I was going to say. Maybe a good thing. Oh, okay. Just like in Canvas. I mean, we were in the midst of COVID and all that was going on. I know in our county we did Google Classroom, then we switched to Canvas, and I've talked about this before. Most kids don't learn that way because even the state got away with looking at the grades because they weren't doing anything online or through Canvas or through Google Classroom. I think for a year and a half, or they waived grades because, I mean, my wife's a teacher, and I mean, you really couldn't get kids involved. And there were a few, and everybody learns differently. But the majority, in my humble personal opinion, need to be held accountable, and there was no accountability. That's just my 2 cents.
I do think that some of our initial virtual learning when the pandemic hit was, we were all kind of scrambling to make the most of it out of a bad situation. And I will say with Canvas, with some of the courses that we have to push out here at the state for different purposes for teachers and so forth, we still have to have a high level of accessibility built into the course because our teachers themselves have disabilities, whether it's print materials or visual hearing disabilities or even processing disorders similar to children who are taking classes for driver's ed. And so when we build a class in Canvas, it has all those accessibility features that we have to bake into it so that students with disabilities, being teachers or the child themselves, can access it. And that's like reducing the amount of text on the screen, having high pictures, contrast, all those kind of things. So I know Carl's group is working on the courses and stuff like that, but we have a lot of things that we have to because we're required to. And it's a good thing that the learning management software have those features built in now because, not every student can access it, as you mentioned.
Mr. Logan, if I'm not, because I'm trying to read the room here, I don't know if, obviously the decision's not been made or anything, but I think a lot of people are thinking that that's going to be the only option. And that seems to be the worrisome. That's not going to be the only option, obviously, this LMS, correct?
When you say only option, what do you?
Meaning this Canvas LMS course or the 30-hour course that we've been doing in person.
That's a mistake. If you go virtual 100%.
As we say, the digitized curriculum that we're providing is that it is a curriculum, but the teacher themselves can determine how they're going to deliver the information. So it can be in a face-to-face environment, it can be in a virtual environment, it can be, but it can't not be standalone.
I just felt like some people thought maybe that was the future, is just to be on Canvas or just to be, virtual and so forth. Because like this one gentleman is speaking of, we here at Alamance have been doing in person. However, we did offer finally one virtual because we have a virtual school here. It does help a lot of our athletes who can't make it immediately after school. So, like I say, I think the option of having it is not for everyone, but is a certain group of students could benefit from it. So that's just my take.
Dr. Royster Davis, if you can, you may want to chime in here, but we actually had Johnson County to create us a video on how their teachers are using the digitized program, and the one teacher may have all three elements in how they deliver the program within one class. It just depends on the subject matter of that particular day. So the teacher themselves have the complete flexibility on how they're going to administer the course. The thing with I can't remember the comment that was made, but whenever, to me, and being an educator, whenever a child doesn't grasp the material, say that they failed, right? The teacher, to me, is the first person we go to. The teacher is the professional. The teacher needs to understand that we need to try something different. How do we disseminate this information? One of the State Board of Education goals is that we will have quality educators out there with the students. And that's one of the things that Dr. Roysha Davis and her team on our group is focusing on. How can we make sure that our teachers are trained to be able to adjust to all the situations?
And Mr. Logan, if I may chime in for just a moment, I think that because during COVID this was taught online, people think that it can only be taught online. It is a digitized curriculum. However, as Mr. Logan has said, our instructors have the flexibility to be able to use it as they see fit. So even in a traditional classroom setting, face-to-face, they may put the content on the screen and still go through the content in Canvas, and then allow participants or students to go and maybe complete the discussions at a later time or complete the quiz online in Canvas. And what that does is within Canvas, it gives the instructors some data that they may not be able to collect in a traditional setting aside from scores, because you're able to actually, students are able to formulate their thoughts and responses to the discussions. Instructors are able to pull that information and say, hey, this student made this comment and I'd like to discuss that a little more. Students have 3 attempts in a quiz, so it allows for reteaching. So there are some really good pieces about, or really things about having the content digitized within Canvas. And again, it doesn't mean that they have to just teach it online. The content is just online. So we have seen, our participants or the pilot participants do different things. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be doing this year is pulling from that pilot group to create a work group to talk about some of the strategies that they've used, how are they facilitating or delivering certain parts of the content, and creating pacing guides so that when this curriculum does roll out to the entire state or made available outside of the pilot, we can say, hey, this is what has worked. These are some strategies that the current pilot participants are using that have been effective. You are not limited to just doing virtual meetings online.
We've had kids in our county, I know other people too, you can go online, this counts for North Carolina. They'll try to turn that certificate in and, hey, I took it online, I paid $7. No, it's not a DMV certified school. And I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I'm sure there are people that will take that and go ahead and drive them. I don't know. That's just, again, because there are those, the ones talking about Google
Yes, I
search
do.
for $70, this counts for North Carolina, and then, and it doesn't. We know that.
In the fine print, it does say that they should call and check and see if it
After
does.
they've got their $80 or $70.
Right. Yeah.
So that's come up to us, especially a lot recently. Well, they said you could do it online now. It's virtual.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count. We just do it in house. So, all right, I'm done.
No, I think this is a great discussion about key points that we need to all understand, because there are some separations of how we're doing things and making sure that we're looking at, as you say, what's reasonable accommodations, and having that partnership with DMV at the table so they can hear this as well. And Carl and I were talking earlier about how we take some of this back, and we have meetings in the very near future, in a couple of weeks, with DMV to talk about some of these key components, so that, again, we're all on the same page and they can put it in where everybody can see, as well as having some suggestions on what we think would be most advantageous, and to help streamline some of the something as simple as the testing and getting in there. I know, having been familiar with when CDLs were a big thing, and coming in, and we were having, it was kind of funny because we work with the rail quite extensively, and many of the rail participants getting CDLs were going to Rocky Mount to get that, and they were coming from all other states to get that. It was just an easy fix to do that, and so some of the key leaders are going, what makes Rocky Mount so unique? And this is before D&B was even relocated. It was just the easy access, the flow smooth, and things were getting done. So, it was kudos to them, but I think D&B strives to make that happen throughout the state every day. And I think, too, some of you have probably seen on the news where they're having now open days, clearer about people coming in and access being so much easier by walking in as opposed to making a meeting or scheduling a time. So, all right, Chad, you're finished now with your subcommittee reviews, and we thank you for that rollout report. A lot of work has been done with these subcommittees. The subcommittee members you can find on the website that Cindy has put out. We thank all the committee members for diligently sitting in these subcommittee meetings to go over every detail to make sure that everything is written correctly and all the ideas are captured appropriately. So thank you, Chad, for leading this and making all these subcommittees present and work hard. Our next presentation will be from Dr. Connie Sessoms, which will talk about the strategic plan update.
While Mrs. Sessom's coming up, it is actually my pleasure to come on up to the podium there. Connie Sessoms was the first chair of this Driver Ed Advisory Committee that was created in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for being here today. Connie is also a two-time National ADSEA, the American Driving Traffic Safety Education Association president, correct? And you were the past chair of the ANSTEA, the Association of National Stakeholders in Traffic Safety Education. I got that out. And now you're the vice chair.
Vice chair. Yeah.
Still serving there nationally. So we've got a very good resource with Connie. Connie also is the retiring executive secretary of the North Carolina Driving Traffic Safety Education Association. All those acronyms. So Connie, thank you for driving all the way up from Charlotte. He is the coordinator for Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Driver Education Program.
Some people would tend to call me a legend in my own mind. Right? So thank you, Dr. Leonard, for entertaining my talking to this group today. And you, Mr. Logan, for seeing to this information being put together. My charge was to revise or lead the revision effort for the strategic plan. This strategic plan, and before I forget, Cindy, I would ask, if you don't mind, maybe tell the group, and they may already know, I don't know, tell the group where this document lives and how they can go find it, because you're going to want to know that, because you're going to want to go read it.
Committee members have access on Google Drive.
Okay. Please find the strategic plan and go read it. You will be able to see the changes that we made. They're in track changes, but you will be asked for feedback at some point during this the completion of this process. But the original strategic plan was developed and penned some 13, 14 years ago. Is that correct, Mr. Logan? Nothing.
In 2012.
Okay.
I'm looking at
So
the original.
So the original. So what's that? 13 years ago.
Getting close. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my math is right.
I'm not a mathematician. I'm a driver educator. Our job was to examine this document and flesh out and separate the tasks that were completed, and we did that, and we suggested some for elimination. You can see those strike-throughs. We left in the document those tasks that remained incomplete as of our examination, but still remain relevant. Some that were not relevant, we'll have to decide what to do with them. But those that remain relevant but incomplete, we left them in there. We took the current traffic safety climate and the changing direction of driver education in consideration, and we added the appropriate tasks that will continue to propel driver education into the future. An example is we've talked some about COVID, but COVID shut everybody down. It came seemingly from nowhere. It shut not only schools, but colleges, businesses, pretty much everything that we were used to doing, we couldn't do anymore. So we put a provision in the strategic plan for DPI staff to create a plan for continuity of operation. We don't want this to sneak up on us again. If it does, we want to be ready so that everything doesn't get shut down again. So those are the kinds of examples of things we added in here. All right, the current document that's in there, DPI staff is going to go through there and wordsmith and clean the document up for presentation. So that will be done. The recommendations that you see there that are contained in this document may be accepted by this committee and made a part of the document, or the committee may decline to recognize any of these recommendations, or the committee may, after its own discussion, change some or all of the recommendations. If you don't agree with what we've said there and you feel like you have a better recommendation, then please make it. I expect that the DPI legal department will want to take a look at this document and offer their advice and consent. That's a normal process. As my parting recommendation, I think it would be well for this committee to consider revising and updating this document on a 5 to 7 year rotation. Not let it run out to 13, 14 years again. Primarily because driver education and traffic safety is beginning to move into our future and it will most likely look markedly different from what it does now. And I can give you one example, and I'll just say ADAS. Those cars that talk to each other. And if you've been paying attention to the news and you've seen all the articles about Tesla and those vehicles that drive themselves while the drivers behind the wheel sleep or otherwise distracted, that's just one of them. Many of those cars are going to be out on the road pretty soon. So the climate of driver education and traffic safety is going to get on a speedboat, and it's going to rapidly change. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that next year we're out of business. No way. No way. A turnover process is probably going to take anywhere from 10, 12, maybe 15 years to move from a person operating the car to a completely level 4 autonomy. So, but you're going to want to keep this strategic plan updated and keep up with that transition. I can only say thank you for the opportunity to engage in this work. It's been enlightening. I think it's. I hope that it's helpful. It will certainly continue to guide this committee's work as you continue to do this important work. And I would ask you, Cindy, I want to recognize the other committee members. I'm going to pick on Natalie because she's in here, but Natalie is a champion. I'm going to tell you that now. You've got a good person on this committee. She's got some good ideas. The work that she is doing on a day-to-day basis for traffic safety education is awesome. Thank you, Natalie. There are some others, and I'll get in trouble, but because I didn't mention anybody else. But I just happened to see Natalie, but there are some others that did good work and had some good ideas on this committee as well, and you can see their names there. Those are the folks who helped with this document. Thank you all. Cindy, thank you. So that's it. I'm officially turning this project back over to this committee.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We certainly appreciate all the hard work and the diligence that you've done to lead this team and to get this plan in the appropriate manner, and all your committee members and all their efforts in pulling this together. We would once again reiterate to everyone to go to the Google, where Cindy has mentioned that it lies. Review it, make comments, any suggestions, put stars by anything you think is really good. If things need to be expanded or shortened, we'll have a discussion about this in the May meeting, and it'll certainly be available for us to revise any necessary information if we need to. But we will definitely entertain a motion at that time to accept and recommend to the State Board of Education. Mr. Logan, do you have any additional information to shed?
No, just Cindy. I'm sure, just like any teacher, you can't assume that students are going to do something. So, can you make sure that they update that link to the document as well? We want to expand that to our general counsel with Mr. Ryan Collins back there to make sure that he's kind of in the loop on that, and as we move this forward. Yes,
Good point.
I did it again. Actually.
Good question. Maybe you were already saying this, but is that going to be sent out over email just so we have that link and can go read that?
Yes, I'll send that.
I appreciate that.
See?
Well, and I will say, she does do that for me. I know she does, because Google Dot is not a friendly animal for NCDOT. So we appreciate that very much. Okay. Any more comments about old business? Okay. Thank you again. All right. So our next item is new business. And we will once again call on Mr. Carl Logan for any new business that you'd like to share.
Actually, we do not have any new items that we want to discuss. However, there are a number of upcoming conferences and traffic safety conferences throughout the country. There is National Lifesavers, which I'll be attending in Seattle, Washington, the first week of April. Then following that, at the end of April, is the North Carolina Driving Traffic Safety Education Association conference that will be in Clemens. Mr. Cotton, Ms. Sessom, do you want to say anything about that? He is the executive secretary for the association, and everything goes through him.
The registration period is open. The date set for closing is March the 24th. If you intend to go and you have not gotten a sleeping room in the area, I don't know that you're going to be able to find one. I know the Village Inn has run out of rooms, but there may be some other close by hotels that you can stay at.
Will the Village Inn be your host hotel?
Yes,
Okay.
that's where all all the sessions are held.
Okay.
But you know, within one or two exits off of I-40, there are several other hotels that are available, and I haven't checked on those. But, we have some good speakers, as we always try to have every year, with a focus on driver education content. We don't just do feel good stuff. We try to give the attendees something that they can take back to their LEA or PSU, excuse me, and use in their classrooms to make them a better teacher. And I think this year's conference will continue to do that.
If I could ask two things, what is your usual participant number when you have?
Anywhere from 300 to 325.
Okay.
Mr. Sessoms, can you also tell them I see some coordinators online, and can you tell them how their teachers can receive or they can receive information regarding how to register for the conference?
We sent out about 650 hard copy newsletters, which had conference information and how to register and all of that in there. In order to get one, I had to have your name and email, name and address in my database. For new people who haven't yet joined, you can go to www.ncdtsea.com. www.ncdtsea.com. Click on events, and then on 2023 conference, and you can see a copy of that newsletter there. It has the registration form and all of that. It also has an online registration component available through there as well.
Could you also send the introductory letter that you're speaking of to Cindy, and then we could distribute that out to all the committee members as well in the event they didn't get that website?
You have that, right?
Yeah.
I sent that to Cindy a while back.
Okay.
We can forward that to you all.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great.
In addition to, sorry.
I just had one more question. Is there a theme to this? I know you're broad-based and you focus on the PS, but
I don't have a. If there was a theme, they didn't tell me. We have someone who our second vice president gets our speakers.
Okay.
And I don't think he has a written theme in mind, other than to get people in there that will talk about driver education content.
Okay. That's good enough. Good enough. Thank you.
The Department of Public Instruction will offer or included in this for the attendees is a certificate of attendance.
Yes, your certificate of attendance, your attendance certificate will enable a person to receive, if you attend just the conference, 12 hours of CEU credits, 1.2 CEUs, or 12 physical hours of credit. We have an early bird that if an attendee does that as well, that's 4 additional hours. So that jumps your credit up to 16 hours of credit, or 1.6 CEUs.
Anything else?
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Haskins.
We do have enough conferences going on where if, a teacher is going to get, 60, 65 hours of credit every 4 years. That's 64 is what they need. They can get that by attending the state conference every year and a couple of these other conferences like the Southeast Region or the National Conference, which is in Wichita this year. There's a way to get it by attending the state every year and then adding in the off year 1 or 2 others. They can get that 60-some hours of credit, 64 hours of credit.
This is another area where DMV and Department of Public Instruction will, actually they are aligned, it's just it sounds differently. DMV renewal period is 4 years, and the DPI teacher's license is 5 years. It's the same amount of hours over 5 years that it is for 4 years. So,
right.
To renew a teacher's license, it's 8 or 80 hours or 8 CEUs. And licensed teachers, professional teachers who have professional licenses, it breaks down to general education, which it could be non-traffic safety related, or content, which is 3 CEUs for one or each one of their certificates that are on their teacher's license. All right. And I think lastly, there's not a Governor's of North Carolina Symposium this year.
Right. So we have every other year the Governor's Highway Safety, along with ITRI and many of our partners, pull together a North Carolina Traffic Safety Conference and Expo. And in the past, they've been called summits, they've been called conferences, and in the last 5 years, they're an expo. So we're, I think, due to COVID, remarkably, has anybody ever heard of that? We have decided that we would have our conference every other year. And in between the years, we would have workshops geared toward our partners, so to help educate the times and educate on new technology, etc. So the next Traffic Safety Conference is scheduled for April the 21st through the 25th. That's a Sunday through the following Thursday, be in Greenville, North Carolina. Greenville, North Carolina, in eastern North Carolina. And we're very excited about what and where this is going to be and what they're going to be able to offer throughout. And so please put that on your calendar. We're in the planning stages right now, and it's coming faster than we can even imagine.
That's for 2024.
2024, yes. Right. 2024. I feel like 2023 is already over. So yes, that's, thank you.
And for those coordinators and contractors, the attendance and conference registrations and things like that are allowable expenses in your driver education budget, professional developments. Hint, hint, hint.
And I also would add, because we're certainly, and I think Mr. Sessions mentioned this as well, looking for speakers and having, key people to help educate the participants. We're looking for that as well. So anybody that around this room or on the virtual call that would like to speak, would like to submit a proposal, we'll be sending those out within the next few months to entertain speakers. Or if you know of a nationally known speaker that you think would be key for this conference, please feel free to share that, and we can reach out to them as well and bring them in. as a possibility.
At the one last summer, I got to be on a panel discussion with Carl and Natalie O'Brien.
Yes. A very informative panel discussion. Yes, absolutely. So, okay. Any other comments? Any other new business? You talk about rebranding? You have a slide here?
Actually, I had just added that in for a just some trivial information. The rebranding that I mentioned earlier, this program, the traffic safety education actually started back in 1948 officially when the Department of Public Instruction hired a gentleman by the name of John Noe. This is what I've been able to get from the old timers that are out there, Connie, and even older than Connie is actually. But Connie knows the people that I've talked to. This was actually a part of the safety programs. There was hunting safety and there was boating safety, and then traffic safety was started. And we've kind of gotten away from that over the years, where we've gone to where the program is geared toward helping students get their learner's permit. So this is, I just wanted you to understand that how old this program is, and it evolved away from safety, because now we're focusing on traffic safety for any road user, not just kids trying to get their learner's permits. We feel like that everyone needs to understand how to use the traffic safety, the highway safety systems. I don't have this information right now, but I did present this to the State Board of Education a couple of years ago. Was that I looked for I researched several surveys from college educators, and every one of them had traffic safety education as an essential life skill for young adults. Every single one of them. So that's how important this program is. I just want to kind of let you all go away with that idea, but it's a total, we're part of the educational system and a part of the education of the whole child, if I'll use that buzzword that we use here at DPI frequently enough. With that,
no more new business.
no.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, I want to thank all the committee members and advisors and staff for making this a very impactful meeting, and we always look forward to ideas to put on the agenda. So anybody that has that, please feel free to let us know. We are reminded of our next meeting, which I believe is May 16th from 10 to 12, the same location. And unless there's any additional business at this time?
Just one additional comment. I want to make clear that the rules that the subcommittees were reviewing, the curriculum instruction team at DPI has just about completed the instructor qualifications rule. Those meetings there will be a doodle poll that's sent out starting next week, and that we will get those out to you all and determine when the first meeting on that is. The process that we've adopted, we feel like that will streamline this and speed it up somewhat, the discussions in the meeting. So expect to get some doodle polls regarding that. And then also there is a contracting rule that will follow shortly behind that. And then once we get that done, then the entire program administration rule will come out. So I'm hoping that we can be through with these rules and ready to submit to General Counsel and move this along. I thought that we were going to be able to get this done pretty quickly, but I was wrong, right, Ryan?
Always takes longer than you think.
It does. But thank you, Ryan, for being here today. I know that you probably gained a lot of information you didn't know about traffic safety education, and look forward to working with you.
Likewise.
Okay. Well, if I look for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Craig.
Craig?
For a motion. And a second?
Either one's fine. I think Craig's really good.
Yes, sir. I can't read
I see.
the chart.
yep.
Yeah,
I see.
I see. Okay. Sorry, gotta go get new contacts. So, all right, so thank you. Second motion, and we shall adjourn. Thank you all again. See you in May.
Same here, same here.
Good seeing you.
It's amazing how small a world it is.
Good deal.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you too.
it's a good thing we have an attorney on board too.
Yes.
Since I hit well, right?
Well, Kelly Hatcher also, did you know her? She's the executive director of Child Task Force. So we got some good folks here, and we have some folks at the grassroots level who know what's going on. And so I just feel like that we have all the right people in the right place. Some of these people rotate off because of the position they have, but the agencies themselves, we don't have to go back to the State Board of Education to update someone. Just like today, Paul's going to be here and just have his department place that I started. That was actually her idea. I'm just showing the policy. I can do that. So I'm just working on the policy. Yeah.
Designate the agency with the organization.
Yeah, the agency is important, and it's like whoever will determine based on what might be on the agenda that day. It's like Department of Insurance. We had years ago we had the deputy director for Department of Insurance. She was here, but she actually had to bring someone that was actually over something else in the agency. She was so it's like whatever. I just had about, and then data, you would see how the research center. And now she didn't have to rotate out because she was working with her 5 years last year. So she's wrong.
So we're on the second floor, the cross from the
So that makes it easy. And Fred, are you in, program?
No, I have the District 3, which is DMV, school bus, and license theft. From Wake County up to the Virginia border, sort of.
So you're right here.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, my office is in Haverfield.
Okay.
How many counties is that? 15?
It's 12 counties and 13 employees.
You short staffed?
Yes. Have been since I became a superintendent.
It's unfortunate. I worked there many years ago, and it was a great job. It was a great job.
When I first came on board, everybody said, how'd you get the job?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know the backstory. The people just stay and stay and stay and stay until they retire.
Right.
But as soon as I took over as supervisor, I swear, people just leaving left and right for all the right reasons, mind you. Lateral moves that moved them up and that sort of thing, and retirements. And so I'm not disappointed that happened. It's a long process going through HR to get postings approved and the posting on the website, then the interviews, and now they have bonuses built in, for all the right reasons, but I had one person that was qualified, semi-qualified, to apply for the Wake County slot that I have, and I have 4 people.
Right.
And 2 for a slot in Durham.
Well,
Man,
it's
that's
so
pretty
slow, the HR process.
It is
By
slow.
the time you get to the person you want and can offer it legally, legitimately, then they've already got their hook in every other area, so we lose them to another job. Plus, this culture now that's coming in, they wanna stay 18 months, if that, and they wanna move, make more money, or they want your job. And, which is great, sometimes I wanna get them, here, take it.
Did you
Do
know
it.
Kevin Harrison?
I know yes, I know him.
Okay. My question to you was to do with Kevin, but I was going to ask you, say, you were doing an experiment with districts training their own school bus drivers a few years ago. Is that still going on?
No, it didn't prove to be fruitful.
I could have told him that.
We did tell them that. Here it is. Here's the process.
We had a 0 fatality rate for, I don't know, 12, 15 somebody's idea was, okay, now that we've achieved 0 fatalities for as many years, let's just contract out school bus trainers and driving. And like, you worked that hard to get there, and now the training is this tight, and now you want to do away with it by contracting it out. And then what a lot of other states found out was, is when they would contract out to someone like Lane Law, they would come in, and then they hook up with the buses and all the drivers, and they can't go back. And you're stuck. So I've got the situation with a lot of my districts who were contracted with a contractor, the contractor providing all the vehicles, and now you have no vehicles if you don't really work with the contractor.
That's common with charge fleet,
Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
so you don't train it, you train it like anybody who was with S restriction. Is it still actually S restriction?
PNS.
PNS, okay. Yeah. So glad to meet you, thank you.
Nice to meet you as well.
All right, good to see you. So, yeah, good to meet you. But yeah, we're working, we want to get to the point where we want to align the programs where we can, thank you so much. That there won't be this confusion. I feel like that the contractors or the commercial driving schools are in a confusing spot. So these rules, when we figure all this out, it should be very, very, very close. But we need you all to weigh in on the stuff, because at this point, there is very little that's written here, so it would be easy to change.
What's the progress on getting the admin code?
Yeah, whenever you guys from the minutes from last meeting, I was like,
That's what I'm talking about. The rules, we call them rules, they're administrative codes. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna send, actually I sent Paul one already, but the one that we just completed was the instructor certification. So I'm ready to give that back to this committee, this subcommittee to discuss, but you all need it too. So you can weigh in on it, so we can actually feed them things that's okay. We know we put this in, but we need to, D&D recommends this also. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have a setup. Ooh.
Well, I'm sure we know.
Yeah, and, I would hope that eventually the district supervisors, field supervisors, would, actually, all of us would be in the same location to go through things too, to eliminate some of the
That would be a good meeting.
yes, yes. Exciting times, it's gonna move slow, but I feel like the right people are at least in earshot of each other, but we can make this thing work. And you were talking about the flow from here to the driver's license office. The parents are stuck in the middle of that. It's not their fault, none of this is their fault, but they're the ones who have to deal with it. The thing what I was talking about was we have been talking about for years where we give the final test. Even Charlotte said, our test does not test your curriculum. And it's like, why don't we just collaborate on it? Like family, why don't we collaborate on the standard final test? The kids take it with us, and then they've got so many months to go back over there and get their runner's permit. It's easy. Just go over there, and that whole deal with what we were working on actually was that they were trying to, they had RFP also, is to have some kind of system where our kids would actually log in there and take the written test, and then there would already be a record there in the license office. The problem is I can't bring them back into the classroom after they've taken behind the wheel, because we don't have the manpower, or nor do we have the funds to do that.
Big deal.
Right. So, we've even discussed having the law change where that the student could actually get their learner's permit when they enter driver education. A lot of states do this. They're in driver education, they get a learner's permit as long as they're there. And when they finish it, then they've already started the year process of having a learner's permit for a year. That would make the parents really happy. It would eliminate
see coming, and I know you've already discussed it, is that making the test available to so many people outside of the examiner or field services. Does it get hijacked, copied,
We
somehow?
discussed that, and, this digitized program that I was telling you about, it has the ability for us to create a test bank. It's like 500 or so questions. And the DMV says, okay, we want these questions asked of every student who takes the course. They don't give it in the same order. They give it in the same order. So the system will take from our curriculum and also take those questions that DMV wants us to ask. Now, it's like, there's an unlimited number of tests because, right, it's just a test bank. And the computer system, what they call, there's a, algorithm. The algorithm determines which questions the kids get, and we just determine the bank. Okay. So they can have the questions that they want to, but they still gotta have, they gotta get it right. Right, still gotta get it right. Which is the goal, so we've got this, we've talked about all this, so DMV couldn't get they had that, it was gonna be about $1 million, I think it was, $1 million plus, to have this,
They'll give you the pretzels and the cookies.
this software.
Anything else, you buy.
The students are plugged into it, and it just wasn't approved because of the sequence of when the kids were gonna be doing that. That wasn't gonna work out.
They gotta buy some stuff. Buy
And we
snacks.
tabled it last, not this past January, it was January before last, 21 December to 22 January
I was
last year,
told by
is
one
when we decided to table it
that you were
again.
23 honor.
But I feel like that, if we can get the funding for having these kids take this course,
And you should.
the way we
I
want
will
it,
tell you
it will
this.
eliminate our
And I learned
shortage
this
of
the hard
teachers.
way.
It will actually increase the requirement for the kids.
To 45 hours.
Right. Right.
Getting
I agree with that.
depression songs.
And I don't like, I don't think every teacher, and I didn't here, every teacher can't teach it perfectly. They can't teach it perfectly. Not every teacher can do that.
I didn't like it, I don't like it, to be honest with you, because I think teachers are not, they can't, left brain, right brain, not gonna do two things at once. You can't teach and take attendance every time.
And actually, I've been in, conference meetings where there's 2 to 3 people in there doing that.
Okay. Well, we do the same thing, we have a virtual bus class, the CEO, and they have 2 or 3 instructors in that class, virtual class, and they rotate from being the teacher or instructor to being the attendance taker.
That, and then see, there are poll questions that can be constantly asked while you're sitting there listening. Poll pops up there, you ask a question, and then there's something that can grade it and show how everybody responded to it. And it becomes a discussion. Now, that takes a little bit of getting used to, that's why I was telling you, our teachers that are going through our teaching program right now, they're used to doing that.
Okay.
That's how they're
Because
learning.
they got it
That's how
themselves.
Right. Okay. So they didn't see how the end result of it, but then they're also getting experience on how to do that while they're in their class.
How does the DPI program facilitate the middle road test?
Okay, so the whole, our whole teacher ed program is your program expanded.
Right. Okay.
So every mentor that signs off on the teachers, or let's go back here. There's a foundations class that's taught, and it's done in 80 hours or 8 weeks, or whatever amount of weeks it takes to do that.
Right.
Then once they get that, and there's a certificate that lets them go back to the district, and they work with a mentor that we train. And that person is gonna have them teach behind the wheel for two groups of kids the entire time. And also, they're gonna do, one whole classroom where they've been observed. And then once they sign off on that, then they come back, or they send a certificate back up, so you sign off on it. And Cindy keeps up with it, and they have a license. It's all automated. No waiting, just as soon as that's sent into the district, Cindy pops at the menu, and just as soon as I open it, my electronic signature goes on the certificate. No waiting, no effort on our part. I think her entire behind the scenes, let's make it simple for him so he can't screw this up. I know y'all say that.
I would need the same consideration.
And they say bless his heart a lot of times too.
Yeah, I can see that. She just gave me some really good directional advice for you next time.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, okay, so when we say, is there any new business, that means new business that moment in time. Not, no, we're good, we're good. Get ready to adjourn and do it. Well, I have one more thing, so I can call on you. That's what I wanted, is I'm not calling you.
Yes.
No, it better yet, it's like, well, Carl, I need to, well, how about so-and-so, go ahead. Then he turned around and said, I need to just stop doing that. Yeah.
We have a, and then, I recognize somebody to speak. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're driving.
No. He's one of those co-pilots. He's driving. He's doing it.
What was I saying? Oh, we have a bi-weekly meeting that needs to come up, right?
Yeah, that's
Bi-monthly, bi-weekly. So anyway, it's a roundtable discussion. So each one of us has a place in the meeting where everybody is the lead, and everybody's responsible for something in our area. So, and the rest of us become a support to them, whatever it might be, some kind of project, whatever it might be. So anyway, so we have this section, and I always forget something during my section, and I have to interrupt somebody, or sometimes they cover by asking them questions, and I try to lead them to something I forgot. Because I don't know.
You put something in the agenda, I forgot items.
Yeah.
So,
I forgot. That's right. That's good.
because it's like, you have too many ideas, because I'm the idea person.
Mr. Logan, your time's up.
Yeah, and Mr. Sessom, he's not a doctor. He's not, oh, I thought he was. Oh, that's okay.
He's about to go on now.
Okay, well,
He is.
he was the saint.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. I was glad that he accepted that, and I keep telling him, it's like, he says he's gonna retire. I said, "Man, I know where you live." But he's well of knowledge.
People that continue doing like that, they stay in the
Yeah.
line much more.
Yeah,
Yeah, I keep hearing that.
yeah.
That's what they say. Don't know who they are.
I don't know
They
who they
say
are.
that.
Sounds like good advice.
Yeah,
Keep
absolutely.
your mind
Well,
busy.
you know, when you said earlier, when you first got in, same way with me, everybody said state government, best place to be, the benefits, yada yada. It's like a family, and it was. But in the last 5-6 years, it's not like that. I mean, some units are close knit or whatever, but we don't have insurance. I mean, how do you recommend to somebody, please come to work for the state? We're a great place to be. And then when they get there for the benefits, there are none. You have to be here 30 years, or yet you don't get any at all. And that bonus, that $1,000 bonus just to apply, I mean, that had done wonders for the morale of people that have been there and working their
Yeah, I have.
well,
Like
the 3
Durham.
and 4 jobs, because everybody else is escaping. And you were so politically correct, because, and some are retiring, and some are finding new jobs, and, it's all good and stuff. And we really know that stuff.
How long have you been there, David?
Just since 2015, August 2015,
Okay.
I came from the Sanford Police Department. I got hurt doing that and had to retire, and then I became a full-time sub for Lee County Schools.
Right.
For about 20 years. The last 2, I actually was employed. Then I decided classrooms get too rowdy for me,
I knew Dempsey Miller. Bob Mickey was my supervisor, and it was a job. It was a job to have.
It was.
It was a
Or
job
it
to
is.
have, because it's like back then, because he would come to me and he'd ask, he says, "How you like your schedule?" And he says, "If you don't like it, don't blame me because you made it."
Yeah.
Because it's like you're in charge of your territory there, and your supervisor has he had 18 counties. He had 18 counties, and no, I'm sorry, we had 15 counties, but we had 18 people. You know, so because some of us did multiple counties, and some people, you know. So, but anyway, it was funny. Somebody said, "Your supervisor in town." I was like, "Dang, I'm not gonna get anything done today because he liked to stop and talk." He would stop. I said, "Go ride the bus with her. We're gonna do some training." Or back then, it was the point where if I was training a school bus driver and I was in Gaston County, and if it was 10:30, he knew the training route and could go find you. It's like, so everybody was on the clock. I mean, it was like, you do this very systematically, and that's what we train the driver ed teachers. But it's like, I can say this really well. I let my kid out when I became the coordinator for Shelton Regular School. I let my daughter out in the circle in front of the school. She had never driven a car as far as they knew. The driver ed teacher put her in the car, and they drove 2 miles to another parking lot for her to start practicing. It's like he hasn't done any walk around, no orientation, anything. And I said, I know that's not the way they were taught, but they've been doing that way for so long, didn't even know they were wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot of retraining needs to happen.
Yes,
Sure,
and
yeah.
unfortunately, you don't have time to do it because you're playing catch up when you have to train school bus drivers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So our program is modeled after the commercial school. It's just longer and bigger, and yeah, because there are teaching pedagogies, and don't ask me what that means, but that have to be covered, and that in order for the teacher to get a teacher's certificate and on their license. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But it's just kind of a blown up version of what you were doing already.
All right.
Yeah.
It's been educational for me. Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Glad you could come in person.
Yeah, I was, when Paul, he's on vacation, no more change,
Yeah.
but he still has his laptop.
Well, from now on, if you come in and you're representing him, you're at the table. And I almost said that during the meeting. Okay, well, it was almost half over when I had an opportunity to say something. But yeah, you're at the table.
Good to see you.
If we had a vote, let's say that the strategic plan that we're going to vote on in May, if everybody agrees to it, then we'll go around the table. She'll do a roll call vote, and we'll vote to adopt it and to move it forward, and then your vote would actually count.
Okay. I'll read that
Yeah,
thing sometime the next week or so.
great. It's an 18-page document.